you know, like any metaphor, it has its limitations, but the nice thing about the metaphor of spring is the notion of ihya, you know, of this revival or becoming to live again, you know, and also it has this hopefulness which is built into it, and this is definitely something that you sense in these young people who made these revolutions. They're definitely not just about being anti-Gaddafi. That's only part of the reason for the revolution. They're actually longing for a better future, for living again, because you know there is this notion of the living dead, and prior to the revolution, many people were like the living dead. I mean, they were going about life, but it was like mota, you know, that was like being dead. And there is definitely a notion of coming to life again. So it does feel springy, you know, it does feel, so I think it's a great image. There are relations, as I was saying, between them, definitely. Because as you see somebody breaking their bonds, you say, I can do this too, you know. And as you see people, this happened to me personally, when I see somebody much younger than I, you know, go forward and not be afraid to die, you know, he makes me brave. These young people were teachers for my generation on how to be brave. Because in many ways, when you're living under tyranny for 42 years, you learn how to be a coward. And because these tyrants made you not only fear for your own safety, but for the safety of your family, you know. And most Libyans were held in bondage, not because they were afraid for their life, but because they were afraid for their mother and sister and for their house and for, you know. So it was their household. And these young people taught us a way of living that goes beyond this fear. So yes, even if you kill me, I will still pursue this freedom, you know. And this is a great madrasa. If there's one thing that is in common between all these springs, I think, is this bravery and this longing for a better life. And I believe that a better life in the broader sense that has the akhirah as a calculation. Because many of these young people, if they calculated things according to dunya, would not do anything like this. But they were walking towards Jannah, you know, and they believe this. And this is something that is in common between these things. You know, Ustad mentioned Asabiyya, and you know, in Ibn Khaldun, it comes from Usba and tribal kinship, or to be in a kind of camaraderie in a group. But maybe what we can do is re-articulate Asabiyya as having to do with Asab, or nerve, you know. So that Asabiyya is more like the networking of nerves. Maybe it's more of a networking concept. And maybe what Ibn Khaldun meant was a kind of network. Maybe it wasn't expressed that way, but maybe it is a kind of network ultimately. And if we look at Asabiyya as a kind of network and say, as he says, for Hadara to emerge, for civilization to emerge, you need Asabiyya and Da'wah, that maybe what we need is a wholesome message and networking to make civilization.